Welcome back, everyone, or most of you. Thanks for responding to that. This next little bit's going to go even better if you like that, yeah? So we'll try again. Welcome back, everyone. Bit better. Right, so I spoke to the married people earlier, yeah? Do you remember that bit, yeah? You not all forgot that, have you know? I got married in September last year. Calm down, not yet, right? But we were originally supposed to get married on the 10th anniversary that we first met, which was in September 2020, and then COVID happened. So we had to rearrange it and postpone it, and the only date available in September 2021 was the 20th anniversary of 9/11. No Americans in, is there? No? You'd think so with response to that. So I thought I can work with this, right? Do you remember them Polstein aeroplanes you used to be able to get in the 80s, yeah? Very cheap, yeah? You can still get them. You get 100 for $7.99 on Amazon. So I ordered some of them. And then I thought, hang on, we've got kids coming to this wedding. So I got some spoons and whatnot. We shit about aeroplanes and helicopters and stuff like that. And I thought, I forgot something here. I need to change this cake order to one with 2 towers. And then COVID happened again, so that got postponed, which is really good because that cake really burned on way down. You know you want to laugh at that, don't you? Not getting booked for this again, are you, Ollie? Oh, no. Trying to avoid this microphone here as well. So we're waiting for people to fill the room up again, but they're not going to. Don't matter now. I'll give up. Yeah. Are you ready for your final speaker? I'm going home now. Yeah. No. You ready for your final speaker? It can't be as bad as that joke, can it? No. No. Right. So this side of the room first. Now start clapping here. Yes. All of you, not just 2 of you. Yeah. And then this side as well. That's it. Keep right going. Give it up for Joe Carnall Jr.
We're there? It's too technical for me, that, just one button. I am a bass player after all. All right, so I was asked to do this, I had no idea what to do. Just come and talk about yourself for a bit, which is very egotistical. Suited me absolutely perfectly. So, I thought about doing it a little different. So instead of just saying, this is me at the beach, this is me with my first guitar, you know, all that sort of stuff, I thought I'd do 5 things I've learned from my career in music. I'm just going to shift this because I feel a bit like you on that grinding machine, I think. Or you on that laptop. And there's synergy right there. So yeah, lesson number 1. So you're going to see some pictures of me as it feels like a baby. I'm 35, but I was probably, this next picture, 15, 16. Oh. So I couldn't shave then or anything like that. So yeah, I've been in bands what feels like all my life. My first band, well, my only band at that point was Milburn. So we're a band from Sheffield, and we all used to play in the same football team together growing up. One of them is my brother, so I've known him for a long time. And then in the summer, we had nothing to do, and the drummer was learning. We had no idea what a guitar was. The other 3, they're a bit older than me, so they got together. They started rehearsing in Greeny's Nan's loft. And they needed a bass player, and I had no idea what a bass guitar was. But being the younger brother, they dragged me along, and I played bass. And then a few months later, they needed a singer. Again, no one else wanted to do it. I had to sing. So it wasn't a choice, completely accidental. All our parents were into music, so I just went for it. I was going to put one of the lessons is, you know, there's no such thing as imposter syndrome, like just get stuck in and do it. But I didn't learn that. I knew that already. For some reason, I just got stuck in, and I've always been like that. So that suited me well. And we did all right. Melbourne did. Yeah, we didn't do too bad. I had to sign my first record. In fact, I signed our first record deal when I was 17. I couldn't sign it. My dad had to sign it for me, which was quite sweet. And we did pretty well. But my first lesson that I learned quite early is no one's going to make you a star. Because what we thought is we were pretty good. We were playing 15, 16 years old. We were very good musicians for our age. And we thought, well, just keep doing some gigs. Someone's going to turn up, give us loads of money. We're going to become famous. And I think a lot of people still think that today. And no one's going to do that for you. 99.9% of the time, you have to do it yourself. So it was a bit of a slow process, but what we did is we made it happen for ourselves. So we built a fan base in Sheffield, then we'd go over to Leeds, then maybe Manchester, and we'd start things bubbling up until London couldn't ignore what was going on in Sheffield anymore. Now, you know, at that time I would probably surmise that you've heard of a band called the Arctic Monkeys. And they were doing a very similar thing at the very same time. We were very close with those guys. And they were making waves. And all of a sudden, because I remember we used to do gigs together in now defunct Grapes venue or the Boardwalk. And I can remember walking with Alex Turner, this must be 20 years ago, maybe a bit less, after sound check for a McDonald's or something. And he was a bit like, oh, you know what? I'm not sure I can do this anymore. I don't think this is going anywhere. And he, I might go and do an English degree or something. I'm like, no, stick it out. I think you've got something. But even he, at that point, was disillusioned with the process because no one's going to come along and do it for you. And what we did at that time is we made enough noise and made it impossible for people to ignore us. And I think sometimes you can just sit on your hands and expect, well, we're good. We'll just sit here and wait for it to happen. And I think something I learned from that period of my life is just go and make it happen. Go and do it for yourself. And the reason we got signed is because we'd been doing these good gigs all over the country, and then we went down to London. And all the record executives, what they saw was a bunch of kids going crazy to us. They weren't bothered about, they don't care about the music. They were just stood there at the back like that. But they saw other record labels in the room, and they saw a bunch of kids going crazy, and they thought, right, well, they're going crazy, so it must be good. And I don't want him to get it or her to get it before me. And we made ourselves impossible to ignore, and we got our record deal, and the rest is sort of history. I don't know. The beginning of history, anyway. So our first album, just going through the pictures, top right is Well, Well, Well. That was our debut album. The Sending the Boys, bottom left, I think that got to, I mean, I hate saying this shit, but it got to number 21 in the charts. Check me out, yep. Never got that boob job. And then that's a picture of me in Milan, I think it was. We were on tour around Europe. So we did some amazing things, and I was, at that age, I think I was between the ages of 17 and 19 when all that was happening. So it was an amazing time of my life, and it taught me to go out and get it for myself and don't wait around and let anyone do it for me. So, to give your ears a rest, well, that's not the right thing to say. To give your ears something else to listen to, or a challenge. I'm going to play you a song off our first record, if you don't mind. This is called Cheshire Cat Smile. Oh, how your mind's not on it. Pass me a book and I'll read you a sonnet, girl. Walls go up and God's come down. He's banging on the door thinking, where the fuck is she now? Don't open your mouth and stick to your guns. You've got to realize that she's indifferent. Whoa, whoa, what's your name? Don't have San Miguel before singing. Just won't learn. Here we go again. So it has come to an end. Things haven't changed, yeah, you're still looking rough, my friend. Things get broken, things come clear. If you wanted to leave so much then, why are you still here? Don't open your mouth and stick to your guns. You've got to realize that she's indifferent. Whoa, what's your name? Just won't learn. Here we go again. Thank you very much. Probably not the wisest move, but... And that is a problem, singing songs you wrote when you were 17. I think my testicles are not fully dropped by that point. So revisiting those moments is sometimes quite painful. That's my brother on the left, by the way, and that's Greenie, the drummer, who was either going to be in a band or in prison. So I think we looked after him. Next lesson. Oh, by the way, I am a school teacher now as well, so kind of day-to-day this PowerPoint stuff. Be grateful. Sound like my mother. So another thing I learned is, at the time, we were young, we were ambitious, we were hungry. All the things you should be. But our mates across the road, who we'd done gigs with growing up, i.e. the Arctic Monkeys, had gone on to essentially take over the world, which was amazing. But 19, 20-year-old me wasn't that happy for them. I was like, one of them was my cousin, and still is. They're old friends. We were amazed for them. We were so pleased with them. We did loads of gigs with them. Brilliant. But when the dust settles, we were like, well, why aren't we doing that? And it's not as simple as that, is it? What we were doing was amazing things. We just made our second record, and that's why the image in the bottom right-hand corner is of Sawmills Studio. That's in Cornwall, right? And it's amazing. The only way you can get to it two ways, by train, we didn't have a train, or boat. That's how you get your gear to it. So you can walk along the train tracks to the studio, or you fill your boat at the harbour with all your gear. So there's big amps and guitars going onto this rickety little boat, and you basically drive it in. Do you drive? You sail it in, but there's no wind, so what is it? Anyway, it goes close to the studio. And we stayed there for 3 or 4 weeks and made our second record, which was an incredible experience. But the problem is, being young and a little arrogant and ambitious, when it doesn't reach the dizzy heights that our friends were reaching, we were a bit pissed off. And if I have a biggest regret, is not sticking in there longer. And what's the other image on there? So that's us at the top right at Sawmills doing a photo shoot. The CD in the bottom left-hand corner is a Japanese version of our first record. So we went to Japan twice. We went around Europe. We did some really cool stuff. But 19, 20-year-old us couldn't really see that. And I don't think it was jealousy. It was a sense of unfairness. But the world's not fair. And it really isn't a competition. So what we did not shortly after this, maybe a year or two after these photographs, we split up. So we were only around the first time for about 3 years. And it was a big regret of mine, because I think, looking back, I would just tell myself, you know what? You've done 2 records, it's been amazing. You've got a little bit of money, not loads. Go to the south of France, go to Spain, go to South Africa, go wherever you want in the world for 6 months. And don't speak to those 3 other people. Don't even message them. Just get some space. And then, time's a healer. You'll come back full of enthusiasm and go again. But we didn't. We split up. And our lives kind of separated off. And that's when I finally went to university, got my degree, and started thinking about becoming a teacher. So that's sort of like chapter 1 of my life, done and dusted by the age I was 21, which was really strange. It's all I had ever wanted to do. And then it's done at 21. And I was a bit grumpy. I was like, right, I'm going to university then. And then did a history degree and a master's. But although I love history, I do love history and I do love teaching, this is my passion, and nothing makes the time go faster than when I'm doing this. Maybe not for you right now, but when I'm writing or creating or playing, time just seems to go by And if there's anything anybody can learn in any walk of life, find that thing that you don't want to do 8 hours at that job you hated. Do something you're passionate about every day, and life is a lot easier, and it's worth the pay cut. And it often is the pay cut in music, unfortunately. So, fast forward 10 years, maybe more. 10 years, 12 years? Oh, you tell me. Go on. 13 apparently. 13 going once, going twice. And I mean, I did do other things in between, and I will go back to them. But I'll just finish the Milburn story. Every day, I'd since, it was the advent of social media, so I'd since joined Twitter and Instagram. And every single day on Twitter, someone used to say, "When's Milburn getting back together?" I mean, they didn't used to send me voice recordings, but you get the message. And every day I go, I have no idea. Well, we went through periods of not speaking to each other, not because we've fallen out, just because that's what you do. And then eventually, as sort of the stars aligned, and we got back together, and we did. We sold out 4 nights at the Sheffield Academy, one after the other, which it's quite. That's 8,000 tickets we did, and we were all sort of in shock. And this thing we'd done, and these seeds we'd sown when we were kids, had developed into this amazing thing that we had no idea how far it would have gone. So I was speaking to some people earlier, telling me about their kids listening to our music, and hopefully it's going to be one of those things that just follows on and follows on. It's never going to be huge, but it's going to be organic and real, and that will have some of its own, maybe Sheffield history. I'm trying to make links here. So we played the long game, intentionally or otherwise, and sort of the zenith of this. So we went away, we made another record called Time, and this sort of culminated in, we did a big outdoor show at Don Valley Ball in front of 6,000 people. And that was a real moment, I think, for me, and for all of us, but we were a band that was sort of, by the mainstream, by the national press, was sort of written off as like a second-rate Arctic Monkeys, which hurt a lot when you're 19. I couldn't give flying... Can I swear? I couldn't care now. I really couldn't care. But back then, I think it did hurt, and maybe that was one of the reasons we did split up. And then, so to be written off like that, and then for 10, 12 years to come back and then do 6,000 tickets in a big field was an amazing feeling. Because like, well, all these bands that you did like, they're all gone now. And we're actually back, and we're doing better than we ever did. So there is something to be said for playing the long game, and I think I've just been thinking about this today. Other Sheffield artists are very good at it as well. Think about Pulp. Pulp were going for years before they received any sort of acclaim and attention, and obviously the peak was where they headlined Glastonbury at the last minute in '95, was it? Stop me if I'm wrong. And then more recently, have you heard of an artist called Self Esteem? Yeah? Rebecca has always been amazingly talented. She's an incredible artist, and she was part of Slow Club before that, who've got some great records. Rebecca's first album as Self Esteem is amazing, but she was just about to get dropped after that. I can remember she was having this conversation. She was like, I've all got these amazing songs for a second record, but I think they might drop me. But she hung on in there. Like, she's not changed, it's the world changing and catching up with her. And her latest record got a Mercury nomination and a Brit nomination and all these things. So sometimes what I've learnt is just to hang on in there, keep going, and you'll get your rewards. I'll play a song now. Quick swig of San Miguel, just to, tempt fate. So, on the theme of being more grateful and playing the long game, we wrote this song after we did those 4 gigs in Sheffield. It's called Midnight Control. I don't know who I'm counting in. It's only me. See, I just started whenever I wanted then. I will play it eventually. Hold on tight, things are getting started. They just might get a little harder when the full moon shines. The circles start to gather down below. Whoa, whoa, they're waiting to explode. Tongue-tied, wild-eyed. How did it come to be so? Unlike the first time. Come over and take me, I'm ready to go. It's getting late, too late to be getting deeper to my mistake. You were soundly sleeping, still the champagne taste is all that remains, and now I'm low, so low. Why did you have to go? Tongue-tied, wild-eyed. How did it come to be so? Unlike the first time. Come over and take me, I'm ready to go down memory lane. Tell me again, like it was the first time. Loosen control of your control. I promise to wear mine. Tongue-tied, wild-eyed. How did it come to be so? Unlike the first time. Come over and take me outside the moonlight. Questions of feeling I found for you tonight. Cheers. There we go. Another thing, and another lesson 4. So this is kind of like the bit in between the Milburn stuff, and I've got quite a lot going on now. And I think it's mainly because I've made myself uncomfortable. And what I mean by that, and I think this can apply to everybody, is it's really easy just to bash on doing the same thing because you know what you're doing. Change and creativity and magic happens when you put yourself outside of your comfort zone. And for me, that's with, I'm going to say art, because we're in a nice space. But with me, that's putting myself into different situations. So one of the things I've been up to over the last 10 years, I've spent the last 10 years playing bass for Reverend and the Makers. Not something I thought I'd do, but I got the call one day, and I tend to, as this evening is proof of, I tend to say yes to things. John rang me up and said, would I like to do it? I never thought really myself as a bass player, never mind this thing. I went, yeah, let's go for it. So that was an uncomfortable step at the start, but within weeks, yeah, I'm fine, I can do this. And then top right is me dressed as Santa Claus. There is a reason. So 12 years ago, I decided that one Christmas time, I was just going to play a couple of acoustic songs in a pub. That was what I was going to do. £5 a ticket, 80 tickets, bit of beer money for Christmas. And that was upstairs at the Shakespeare. Does anybody know that pub just round the corner? And a bit like what happened with Millwall later on, it sold out instantly. Like, oh, all right, okay, great. And then everybody came upstairs to the venue. It was a brilliant night, and they had to get us to stop because the floor was caving in because people was having too much fun upstairs. So I straight away I did another gig at the Greystones, I think, the day after. And I thought, it could work this. Like, I never thought I'm going to do Mr. Christmas. But 12 years later, that gig has snowballed and snowballed and snowballed until every year now I play in front of 2,000 people doing it. And sometimes dress up like a dickhead. That was uncomfortable. But yeah, I would have never have known if I just didn't put myself out there and did it. And whenever something comes up now where I'm not sure, I'll always just go for it because it can lead to so many things. So just being here tonight, having a few conversations with people, you never know. You never know when you're going to need a new pair of scissors. That's all I'm saying. So yeah, I've done the Christmas gig every year. I've met some amazing people, some brilliant people have played with me. The atmosphere's been incredible. Bottom left is a now pop star called Tom Grennan. I was asked to play bass for him to help him out. Again, that was during COVID. It was quite funny. It was in a field where everyone had a little pen. They couldn't mix. It was up in Newcastle. And I had to learn 18 songs for a gig. There was just one gig. And I'm like, yeah, go on then. Because I've got it in my head now. I've got to say yes to stuff. And that was amazing because it taught me that I can do it under pressure. Again, I met loads of great people. It was the only gig that happened in the country during lockdown pretty much because it was all legal and above board. Met some great people, had a cool experience. So there's loads of things that I've done which might feel uncomfortable, but I've really got loads out of. The top right is, no, that's not, I'm really struggling here. Top left is me twice. I am that self-indulgent. I've got a solo project called Good Cop, Bad Cop. Again, it's a synth project. It's all me with the help from one friend for that record. And that was really uncomfortable, but I had the opportunity. I mean, I say uncomfortable. That record was made for 4 weeks in LA, so it wasn't that uncomfortable. It was for January, it was really nice. But my friend Matt, who's the drummer for the Monkees, we just started talking. I said, I've got loads of songs, let's do something. And it became Good Cop, Bad Cop. Maybe a few years previous, I wouldn't have been brave enough to do it, but I just went for it. It was such a chore. A full 13 or 9-hour flight without my children. It was really hard. Yeah, that was pretty cool. So I'm going to make another Good Cop, Bad Cop record because we've got another baby due, and I just said to my wife through the week, if I don't do it now, I ain't never going to do this next record. So a couple of weeks ago, I rang another mate up, should we do something? And we were in the studio. And sometimes just getting it booked in makes you do it. We've all been there where we've just avoided things and it never actually happens. So, run that marathon. Whatever other inspiring things I can ask you to do, I don't know. Come on, give me something. Bake that cake. How many towers are on that cake? Yeah, do that thing you were putting off. Next. Was I going to do something there? Yeah, I was. I was going to play a Good Cop, Bad Cop song. This is called Silk and Leather. We go together like silk and leather, like heavy weather on a blue day. If you empty your mind, I will empty mine until we make a new shape. It's meaningless to say I didn't mean it, no. The devil's on his way. I didn't mean it. Did you get what you wanted? Did you find what you had misplaced? Underneath all the bandages, there will always be a scar that's left behind. When I saw you on the TV, I didn't recognize your raincoat. The room was empty, the air was still at time. Although we sold our souls, we didn't mean it, we didn't mean it, no. Before we got too old, we didn't mean it, we didn't mean it. Did you get what you wanted? Did you find what you had misplaced? Underneath all the bandages, there will always be a scar that's left behind. Careless is more, but what if more is all I have? I've been here before, and this time I'm not coming back. We go together like silk and leather, like heavy weather on a blue day. If you empty your mind, I will empty mine, until we make a new shape. It's meaningless to say I didn't mean it, I didn't mean it, no. The devil's on his way. I didn't mean it, I didn't mean it. Although we sold our souls, I didn't mean it, I didn't mean it, no. Before we got too old, I didn't mean it, I didn't mean it, no. Top. And speaking of making myself uncomfortable, I've just picked this up for you, Tom. I was also in another band for the intervening 10 years called the Book Club, and I was very uncomfortable wearing this. I just look like my mum. Yeah, go on, get your picture, Tom. Get your picture. And the last one. I've gone for a really stupid link here, but this sort of gives you a window into my teaching style. Gotta try and make it memorable. Can anybody name all the Ricks on that slide? I don't think I can, actually. Is there a Rick we're unsure of? Why don't we do it that way? It's Ricky Vere, yeah. FA Cup. Is it Tottenham? Great goal, wasn't it? Ricky Vere. Go on then. You've took the floor. Sorry, what's your name? It'd be great if it were Ricky, wouldn't it? Ricky Martin.
Ricky from that band from Leeds.
Yeah, we don't... Brilliant. Great way of saying that. We don't need to give him any attention. I once met him in a lift. It was when I was young and obnoxious, and I told him his band was shit. Yeah, go on. Rick, come on. And then finally, yeah, what's his Ricky Owen? What's the act called? For absolutely no reason. Sid Owen? Ricky what? Ricky Butcher. We got there. What a shit pub quiz team this is. Again, there's no reason we're doing this really. The only Rick I'm bothered about is Rick Astley on that board. Okay? Because I've learned over these years that, and this is bad, sorry, in terms of music, I'm never going to give it up. I'm never going to let it down. I'm never going to turn around and desert it. And there is method there, because I have put the guitar down once or twice, maybe for 6 months, maybe for a year, but I've just figured out that by now I'm going to write songs. Writing songs is what I do. And it's the thing that makes the time pass. It's the thing that gives me a bit of headspace. It's the thing that makes me feel better. It's like going for a run. Some people bake a cake, whatever. Scissors, we'll do that again if you want. Some people put the laptop on charge, I don't know. You get the picture. Yeah, it's the thing I'm never going to stop doing. And so with that, I would like to thank you for listening and to see if anybody has got any questions. Are we all desperate to get home? You're going for the hat trick, aren't you?
I've heard that you taught certain members of the band how to play guitar, is that right?
The drummer was taught by our drummer. Yeah, so he hasn't. Matt Elders had no idea what he was doing. So Greenie taught him quite a few things, and then he got really good, didn't he, in that annoying way. Yeah, but we all got to start somewhere. Obviously, very talented guy. Go on. Favourite gig? Great question. The Don Valley Ball was an amazing experience, but it was very wet for most people. We always like going to Manchester. So there's a venue in Manchester called the Manchester Ritz, and we were talking about this earlier. The whole floor is what you call a sprung dance floor. So it's like an old dance floor where when somebody jumps, you can feel it. And on the stage in that venue, the stage even goes with it. So it's like the only time where you're at one of your own gigs. So probably Manchester Ritz it's always a special gig. Yeah. Good questions. Hello. Oh, tonight. No, I'm joking. What's my least favourite gig, Tom? You've been top. So Tom, this is Tom Clare. He's a friend of mine. He sold merch at a couple of shows for the book club, didn't you? Yeah. Go on then. Give me a really bad gig.
We talked about earlier the place that coming up.
Which one? The Chat. Oh yeah. Well, it's a light and shade story. This we did a gig in Kent, in Chatham in Kent, and there was literally nobody in the room, and we'd gone for 3.5 hours to this gig. But the next day, we went to a theme park, and then the guitarist, you're filming this, aren't you? So our friend Pat, who's now a GP, he's a very respected pillar of the community. We were on this ride, and he was strapped in. We were all in this row, and you could see it'd been throwing us all over, and the ride was slowly lowering down. You could see him. As we were going down, he went, and he was sick all down himself, but because he literally couldn't physically move to bend down, and these pineapple chunks were just coming down the front, and obviously he's got his best mate sat at either side of him, giving him absolutely no sympathy, laughing in his face, his eyes are watering. The drummer at the time, God bless you, Anthony, was screaming because he was petrified of the sick, and then as soon as it stopped, he went, "Can we have the cleaning to the ride, please?" And they shut the ride, and it's probably the most embarrassing moment of his life, and so it made the whole trip to Chatham worth it. So you got to find the good stuff. You got to find the good stuff. Be grateful. Hello.
So I like a two-part question.
Do.
So mine is, what parts of being a musician do you think inform your teaching, and which parts of teaching inform your music?
Have you been thinking about this? You're a teacher, aren't you?
I used to be.
You used to be. Why not?
Work-life balance.
Yeah, it's shit, innit?
Behaviour.
Yeah. Behaviour. So that informs my teaching. Because when I've got the microphone, I can be a bit of a knob, but get away with it. And it's a bit, I kind of use, sorry, that's not I wouldn't say this to day one for someone coming through the door. But I think what I'm getting at is the confidence thing. If you look like you're in charge, you're probably in charge. Even if you don't feel it, it's like that duck swan analogy, isn't it? Graceful on the top and then going underneath. So maybe that's it. I was quite naturally able to stand in a room, and because kids can smell blood, man, can't they? They know when a supply's walking in. Who doesn't really have that much confidence. They don't even need to speak to each other. They know it's happening. So I think half the job is walking through the door. So that definitely informed my teaching. And teaching to music. No, nothing. Try and forget the teaching when I write. But, it's just a complete, in a sense, but it's like a complete escapism. So that's my escape. I try not to think about it. Thank you. Any more? Hello. Yeah, Japan's crazy. In terms of like Yeah, so like it was a big moment in like what they called the British invasion. That's how they span it, because there were loads of cool British indie bands coming over, and even for the likes of us, we'd have people at our hotel rooms of a morning, and they would escort us to the train station with little autograph books. I'm like, what the hell do you want my autograph for? But yeah, that's fine. Yeah, an unbelievable experience. And very crazy to get your head around. So we'd be doing gigs where, like with the whole band, it's quite raucous and quite loud. But because they're so respectful over there, they would, after a song finished, they would frantically applaud and then dush, silence. It's like, oh my God. And you can't even say anything for a laugh or to cut the tension because no one's got a clue what you're saying. And vice versa. It's like, this is so weird. But an amazing experience, yeah. And again, got to be grateful for ever getting the chance to go over there with my mates twice. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, hello.
Two-part question. I'm following the thing. So, musician or football superstar, I know when's they going to get promoted?
They're definitely going to win the league, yes. That's fine. That's nailed on. They're going to get promoted. Melbourne, we used to have this conversation all the time. Would you rather win the FA Cup or headline Glastonbury? And we could never. We always used to fall. We'd change every week as to what we wanted to do. I don't know. I genuinely can't answer that. Because I've done big gigs now. So I wouldn't mind scoring a goal in front of Cop, you know. So no, I don't know. I don't think it leaves you. It's like those two childhood dreams that you have. And again, I was looking. I've done one of mine, you know, whether it's award winning or whatever. I don't really care. I've done it, so I should be really grateful and happy and sort of at one with my music career, which I am. Thank you. Cool. Well, thank you very much. Cheers.
Joe Carnall, everyone. Joe Carnall, thank you very much. We've got to that point of the night, which basically means it's time to go home. Not quite yet. You've all been fantastic tonight. Thank you for that. So give yourselves a round of applause. Right, where are the Sheffield Forum guys? The guys that actually do all the work behind here. Give us a wave. Yes? Are you over there? Fantastic. Your bar staff. I've been Ollie Clark. I don't deserve that, but thank you. If you want to see comedy in Sheffield, there's a little thing kicking off at the moment. A bit like when these bands started, for 10, 15 years ago. Comedy in Sheffield's taking over the entire world, but you'll have to come and find out where. Which means it's not took over yet, has it? No. So, tonight you saw Jonathan Reed, Alex McLean, and then you've seen Joe Carnall. If you want to come to one of these again, keep your eyes on Sheffield Forum. It will be posted on there. Fingers crossed we will see you again. If not, fuck off. It's time to go home nearly. Thank you all very much. Good night.